I was 6 months pregnant, traveling alone on a work trip, and already exhausted from a morning full of meetings. When I finally boarded the plane, I only wanted one thing: a quiet seat by the window, where I could rest my swollen feet and breathe. But the moment I reached row 14, my heart froze. There he was. My ex-husband, and sitting right next to him, her. The woman who had broken our marriage, now legally his wife. I stopped in the aisle, gripping the seat in front of me for balance. My baby kicked inside my belly, almost as if sensing my turmoil. I prayed silently, please, not this row, not these people. But fate was cruel. The ticket in my hand matched the seat right beside them. The flight attendant urged me forward, smiling, unaware of the storm inside me. "Ma'am, this is your seat. Please take it quickly so we can depart." I stammered, "Is there another one? Any other seat available?" She shook her head apologetically. "Full flight today. I'm afraid this is the only one." I lowered myself into the seat with trembling hands, the smell of his cologne already suffocating me. My ex shifted uncomfortably, pretending to scroll through his phone. His new wife, however, turned toward me with a satisfied smirk, resting her manicured hand on his arm like a trophy on display. My throat tightened. I wanted to vanish, to scream, to run, but instead, I forced my lips into a thin, bitter smile and looked out the window. As I fastened my belt, something caught my eye. My ex quickly slipped a brown envelope into his bag. I couldn't see much, just the edge of a bank's logo stamped in blue ink. His movements were hurried, almost guilty, as if he didn't want anyone to notice. The plane began to taxi, the cabin vibrating. And me, squeezed between the past I couldn't escape and the future I couldn't yet imagine. The plane lifted off. My stomach churned with more than morning sickness. Beside me, laughter. Her laugh, sharp and artificial, cut through the hum of the engines. She whispered something into his ear, and he chuckled, deliberately loud enough for me to hear. I closed my eyes. I told myself to breathe, to protect my child from the poison of my emotions. But no matter how hard I tried, their presence pressed down on me like a weight I couldn't lift. Then, something strange happened. A flight attendant leaned over and placed a small envelope on my tray. "Your special meal order, ma'am," she said kindly before moving on. Confused, I opened it, only to find it wasn't food at all. It was the same brown envelope I had seen my ex hiding. My pulse raced. I glanced at him. He was distracted, whispering with his wife, completely unaware of what I held. Inside were not receipts or travel papers. They were financial documents, bank statements, transaction records, company shares. Names I didn't recognize. But one name stopped me cold. It was the name of the company he and I had built together, years ago, back when we were still in love. I flipped through the papers, my breath shallow. Large sums of money had been transferred out, hidden, rerouted, signed under another person's name. Not his. Not hers either, someone else entirely. A female signature, elegant but unfamiliar, stared back at me from the bottom of the page. My baby kicked again, harder this time, as though warning me. I swallowed hard, clutching the papers with shaking fingers. The humiliation of sitting next to my ex and his wife suddenly shifted into something else. This wasn't just about my broken heart anymore. There was something darker, hidden, dangerous. And somehow, by some twisted coincidence, I had been placed right in the middle of it. I stared out the window at the endless sky, gripping that envelope as though it held the key to my survival. I thought this flight would be nothing more than a painful few hours, but I was wrong. This was the beginning of everything that would change my life. My name is Evelyn Hart, 36, 6 months pregnant, and today I'm the unlucky passenger in seat 14A, the one wedged against the window with my ex-husband and his new wife breathing the same air. I work in compliance for a mid-size fintech based in Chicago. I chase bad money for a living, but in my personal life, I've always been the opposite of bold, quiet, careful, the kind of woman who apologizes when someone bumps into her. It's a habit I learned in a marriage where the loudest voice always won. The baby rolls beneath my ribs like a tide. I palm my belly through the thin cotton of my dress and count my breaths the way my OB taught me. In for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. Stress is not a suggestion anymore. It's a line I'm not allowed to cross. 2 weeks ago, my doctor wrote it down on a blue sticky note and pressed it into my hand. Low-lying placenta. No drama. I laughed then. Now the joke is on me. A soft ding. Turbulence flutters the overhead bins. I press the call button because my throat is dry and my hands won't stop trembling. The flight attendant leans in. Water with ice? Room temp, please, I say, and my voice sounds borrowed. I don't look right or left. I can feel their presence the way you feel a storm before it hits. My ex, Adrian Cole, always smelled like cedar and mint. The scent is still there, but his stillness is new. He was never still with me. He paced, he pressed, he filled space with certainty until mine disappeared. Now, beside him, his wife Sienna radiates the kind of beauty that photographs well. Sleek ponytail, a diamond that flashes like a signal mirror. I used to tell myself she wasn't the reason we ended. The truth is more complicated. She wasn't the only reason. The brown envelope rests in my lap. It should not be here. It should not be anywhere near me. I don't open it again. I already saw enough. Bank statements, wires, share certificates with the faint watermark of a law firm I recognize, and a signature belonging to a woman I don't, Clara Wynne. The name beats in my head like a second heartbeat. Plot first, then panic later. That's my rule at work. So I slide my phone into airplane mode with Wi-Fi and do what I always do. I document. I take quiet photos page by page, the camera shutter muted. Each shot lands in my hidden album with the cold click of a seatbelt. I tell myself I'm preserving a chain of custody. I tell myself I'm drinking a glass of water. What I'm really doing is giving my fear something small and useful to hold. I shouldn't be looking at any of this. I know that. But part of me, a part I haven't listened to in a long time, feels like this envelope did not simply land with me. It found me. Adrian shifts, elbow grazing the armrest we used to fight over on long drives. "Everything okay?" he asks, eyes trained on the seat in front of him, like the words are intended for the air, not for me. "I'm fine," I say and taste the old lie. I used to say it when the bank called about a late payment. I said it when I found lipstick on a collar that wasn't mine. I said it when I signed the divorce papers and handed him my last name back like a sweater he could keep. The plane jolts and the envelope slides off my tray. It lands face up by Sienna's patent leather flats. She looks down, then up, lazy, amused. "You dropped something." I reach for it. She reaches faster and sets the envelope on my tray with 2 fingers like it's sticky. "Thanks," I say. My cheeks burn. The baby flips, displeased. Sienna smiles without warmth. "You traveling for work, Evelyn?" "Yes, still doing whatever it is you do." She waves a hand, the diamond winking. "Compliance," I say. "Fraud and due diligence." Adrian clears his throat. "She's great at finding mistakes," he says. "It's almost a compliment, except for the history lodged in it like a bone. I was great at finding mistakes, especially mine. I found them when I stayed late at Cole and Hart Logistics to reconcile invoices because Adrian said the bookkeeper was stealing. I found them when we opened a line of credit I didn't want, signed in a conference room that smelled like burned coffee because he needed it for growth. I found them when I traced a discrepancy to an account he swore didn't exist. When I asked questions, he called me paranoid. When I wouldn't sign, he called me unsupportive. The night I moved out, he called me ungrateful. I sip warm water and taste the past. I don't like the flavor. "Excuse me," I murmur, unbuckling. The aisle feels narrow as a vein. I carry the envelope to the lavatory like contraband. Inside the cramped blue light, I brace my hands on the sink and stare at my reflection. My jaw looks stronger than I remember. Maybe pregnancy does that. Fills in what grief took. I slide a few pages out. The first is a share transfer from our old company, dated just 6 months after the divorce, executed under a new holding entity, Arcadia Ventures LLC. I've seen that name in one of my case files at work. Not flagged, but mentioned in a vendor list for a client I'm flying to audit in Seattle, Vastport Maritime. A second page shows wires to Sunbay Brokerage, a firm with a Cayman address. The amounts are chopped into irregular pieces, each just under the threshold that triggers an automatic audit. I feel something I haven't allowed myself to feel in months: focus. Not the brittle, defensive kind I wore like armor in court, real clean focus. My baby shifts, gentle now. I whisper, "We're okay," because I need to hear it. I fold the papers back, take 3 more photos and slide them into the envelope. It suddenly occurs to me that if I keep it, it's theft. If I return it, it disappears. If I report it, I become the story. I press my forehead to the mirror. The glass is cool. My weakness has always been the same. I choose peace even when it costs me the truth. A knock on the door. Ma'am, we're about to start beverage service. Almost done, I say. I fix my hair, aware of how ordinary my face looks. Ordinary is good. Ordinary women can disappear in plain sight. That is a skill, too. When I return to my seat, Adrian is watching the aisle, not me. Sienna scrolls her phone, then angles the screen away, reflexive. I slide the envelope under a magazine. I rest my hands on my belly, a fortress and a promise. The man across the aisle smiles at me, soft. How far along? 6 months, I say. Congratulations, I smile back. Thank you. I don't add that I did this on my own. Intentional, not accidental, with a donor who will never be anything but a name on a clinic's secure server. I don't add that Adrian announced to our friends I couldn't get pregnant, as if my body were the problem to solve, as if I were the reason our future kept falling through his hands. I don't add that a sealed envelope in a safety deposit box holds a lab result with his name on it, not mine. The beverage cart rattles closer. I tuck the envelope deeper. I imagine the world in 2 columns like a spreadsheet. Report versus ignore. Report. I could email my boss from the plane. I could outline the conflict, recuse myself from the Vastport audit, hand this to a third party. Ignore. I could close my eyes and pretend none of this touches me. I could promise myself rest. I could be the woman my doctor wants me to be. Ginger ale? The attendant asks. Apple juice, I say, surprising myself. I used to choose what Adrian liked, then what would offend him least. Apple juice is in neither category. It tastes like childhood and hospital waiting rooms. It tastes harmless. Sienna leans back and whispers, she kept the envelope. Adrian says, it's just menus, too quickly. I straighten. If it's yours, you can have it. My voice is calmer than I feel. Adrian gives me that old patient look. I used to mistake it for kindness. Don't worry about it. He doesn't reach for the envelope. He doesn't deny it's his. He just wants me to let it go. For a long time I did. I look out the window. Cloud fields go on forever, endless, indifferent. My chest tightens, not with panic now, but with something slower, resolve. I am not the same woman who nodded and smiled through 1,000 small erasures. I am pregnant with a child who deserves a mother who picks truth even when it shakes the room. The intercom crackles. The pilot announces a tailwind, an early arrival. People murmur like they've been gifted minutes from heaven. I glance at the screen in the headrest. The little plane crawls over a cartoon map. Seattle gets closer in small, honest increments. I like that. Numbers you can trust. My phone buzzes in my palm, the in-flight Wi-Fi pushing through a message from my boss, Nadia. Heads up, Vastport added a last-minute partner to tomorrow's session. Arcadia Ventures LLC. Please review their onboarding packet tonight if possible. The words settle like a stone in my gut. I scroll. Attached is a PDF with a logo I already saw in the envelope. A neat, bloodless circle closes. I could tell Nadia everything. Or I could ask a question that signals nothing and buys me time. I type, received, will review, any known related party exposure? Her reply is instant. They disclosed none. I stare at the envelope. The paper inside might be proof that someone is lying. To Nadia, to Vastport, to regulators, to me. Sienna laughs at something on her phone. Adrian finally meets my eyes. For a moment, I see the boy he had been at 24 when we signed our first lease and ate tacos on the floor because we had no furniture. His gaze flicks to my stomach and away. It's fast, guilty. He doesn't know anything about this baby. He doesn't know about the donor or the ultrasound photos folded inside my wallet or the way I cried alone when I first heard the heartbeat, relief flooding every corner of me. He does know, if he's honest, why we never had a heartbeat before. The aisle is quiet. The cart is 3 rows back. I pull the envelope onto my lap. I think this belongs to you, I say, not loud, not soft. Adrian's fingers twitch. Sienna's eyes narrow. What is it? She asks him. Company stuff, he says. Then take it, she says. He doesn't. He watches me. It feels like a stare down where the rules are new. I can give it to the crew, I offer. They can return it after landing. He twists his wedding band, a tell I learned in year 2. That won't be necessary. He still doesn't reach. I slide the envelope back under the magazine. Okay. My heart, against all logic, steadies. The decision flows through me like warm water. I'm not ready to force a confrontation at 30,000 feet. But I'm not going to let this sink into a pocket of silence either. I will land, I will breathe, I will choose the right channel. The one that protects my baby and the truth. I rest my head against the window and let the hum of the engines fill the gaps. I think of my mother, who raised me on a cashier's salary and gentleness. She used to say, "Pick your moments, Evie. The right truth told at the wrong time can still break a bone." For years, I used her words as a reason to wait. Today, they feel like a plan. I tuck a hand under my belly and whisper the promise out loud so I'll hear it later. When fear tries to edit the memory, I will not look away. The baby answers with a slow, certain kick, as if we are making this vow together. Some introductions are lists: name, age, job. Mine is this: I am Evelyn Hart, 6 months pregnant, formerly the wife of a man who made doubt feel like home. I am good at finding patterns other people want to hide. I am bad at choosing myself when it costs someone else comfort. I am trying to change that. And in my lap, a brown envelope breathes like a second life, waiting. I slide my phone beneath it and type one more message to Nadia, my fingers almost calm, flagging a potential conflict regarding Arcadia Ventures. Will brief you after landing. My thumb hovers, then taps send. It's a small button in a small cabin in a sky too big for any of us. But it feels like the first honest thing I've done for myself in a long time. Seattle greets us with rain that looks like it's been falling since the world began. Soft, relentless, the kind that gets under your coat and stays. The wheels kiss the runway, the cabin claps, and I'm back inside my body long enough to make a choice. As we taxi, I press the call button and hold up the brown envelope. "I think this was delivered to the wrong passenger," I tell the attendant, eyes steady. "Thank you, ma'am," she says, sliding it into the crook of her arm like it's ordinary. Across the row, Adrian's head snaps up. Sienna's lips part. He doesn't say a word. He only watches the envelope disappear down the aisle, and something tightens at the corner of his mouth. Relief washes through me, clean, temporary. I still have the photos. I don't have the liability. It's a small, neat compromise. Those I can live with. At the gate, people stand too soon, elbowing into the aisle like a river breaking a dam. I wait. No sudden moves. When it's finally our turn, I rise carefully, one hand bracing my back, the other shielding my belly from careless bag edges. Adrian lifts his carry-on and steps aside. Our eyes meet for a second. His are cool, calculating. "Good luck with your audit," he says like a politeness. "You too," I say before I can stop myself. With what? I don't ask. We both know. The terminal smells like coffee and carpet cleaner. I text Nadia, landed. Her dots appear, vanish, appear again. Meet at hotel in 1 hour. We'll go over tomorrow's agenda. Outside, the rideshare line snakes toward the curb. I climb in, give the driver the waterfront hotel address, and watch cranes move in slow angles above the port like steel mantises. The city is a palette of gray and glass. I used to hate gray. Today it looks like a promise to be honest about what it is. The hotel lobby is warm, all blonde wood and planes of light. A sign near the check-in desk reads, "Welcome, Vastport Maritime Partners Summit." There's a table with lanyards, glossy programs, and navy blue folders. The concierge smiles. "Checking in for the summit?" "Yes," I say. "Hart?" "Evelyn." She hands me a key card and a welcome envelope with my name embossed in silver. There's also a reception tonight at the Harborlight Club, shuttle from the hotel at 6:30 p.m. I take the envelope upstairs. My room faces the water. Ferries cut white wakes through pewter waves. I sit on the edge of the bed and open the packet. Inside, an agenda, a map, and a list of strategic partners. My throat tightens when I see it in black and white. Arcadia Ventures LLC, proposed equity partner representative, C. Wynn, Nicole. I stare at the letters until they stop swimming. Advisor. Of course, Adrian has never met a back door he didn't prefer to a front one. I photograph the page and cross-check against the pictures I took on the plane. The signature on the share transfer reads Clara Wynn. The onboarding list says C. Wynn, trustee, not owner, trustee. A trust can hide a lot of sins in the spaces between names. There's a knock. I tuck the papers away and open the door to find Nadia, damp from the weather and moving like she has 3 places to be at once. She hugs me, quick, careful of the bump. "You okay?" "I'm fine." I lie less than usual. She drops a laptop bag on the desk. Tomorrow's layout changed. Vastport added Arcadia to the morning block. We'll open with KYC, then vendor controls, then beneficial ownership and sanctions. I want you on vendor controls and wire testing. "Not beneficial ownership?" I ask, already knowing the answer. Her mouth firms. I got your flag. You're recused from anything touching Arcadia. We'll have legal sit-in. It's policy. It's right. It also feels like stepping away from a door I desperately want to open. Nadia flips open her notebook. Fastport's CFO is nervous. Their board chair is hosting the reception tonight. Smile, shake hands, say little. Save your energy for the room. Who's representing Arcadia? Trustee named Wynne. First name Clara, I think. Their counsel's flying in later. There's a consultant on their side too. Adrian Cole, I say, the name a stone in my mouth. Nadia blinks. You know him? We were married. She exhales softly, like a balloon losing just enough air not to pop. Do you want off this engagement? I look at the window, at the rain threading itself into the bay. No, I want guardrails, and I want it done right. Done, she says. Guardrails are my favorite shape. When she leaves, I pull the curtains and stretch out for 20 minutes like my doctor insists. I set an alarm, close my eyes, and try to let the hum of the city carry me under. My phone buzzes before the alarm with a text from Mom. Call when you land. Remember your feet. And to be brave doesn't mean to be harsh. I smile, send her a selfie with the rain behind me. Landed. Hydrating, we'll call tonight. She replies with a heart then, listen to the baby. The baby knows. I rest my hand on my belly and listen. The baby says nothing and everything. At 5:45, I head down to the lobby. The summit crowd has multiplied. Navy suits, pearl earrings, name badges reflecting warm lamplight. At the far end, Adrian stands with Sienna under a chandelier, talking to a woman in a charcoal-sheathed dress with a leather folio tucked under her arm. She's 50-ish, sleek gray bob, posture that says hours in depositions. The lanyard at her throat reads, Clara Wynne, Arcadia Ventures. So the signature has a face. She looks like a person who prefers hallways to stages, the one who tells other people where to stand. I turn away before any of them can see me and find Nadia near the shuttle doors. There, I murmur without pointing. She follows my gaze. Noted. Her eyes sharpen. You sure you're okay? I'm choosing to be, I say, and it's true in the moment I say it. The shuttle to the Harbor Light Club smells like rain and wool. A junior analyst from our team, Tara, slides into the seat beside me. First time in Seattle? In this life, I say. She grins. You'll love the club? Old money and model ships. I raise an eyebrow. You'll see. The harbor light sits above the bay like a ship run aground on purpose. Dark wood, brass railings, old photographs of storms. Staff move through the lobby in quiet loops. The donor wall glows with engraved names. I scan for Arcadia. It's not there yet. Maybe tonight is the night they buy their way onto the brass. I keep to the perimeter with a club soda, threading conversations into a map. Fastport's board chair, a cheerful man with the smile of a weather forecaster. Their CFO, pinched, scanning the room like a lifeguard, counting heads and risks. And there, Clara again, speaking low to Adrian, not Sienna. Sienna checks her reflection in the window, bored. Adrian's posture says supplicant, dressed up as strategist. Nadia joins me. Board chair says Arcadia's capital will close a gap for expansion. 2 new terminals, 1 refit. He thinks they're white glove. I asked for their UBOs and got missed. Trust structure, I say. Yep, Delaware sandwich, Cayman sauce. I swallow a bitter smile. I've seen that menu. A server passes with tiny crab cakes. I take one and suddenly remember the sticky note my doctor pressed into my hand. No drama. I hear my mother, pick your moments. I hear myself, I will not look away. The program begins. Speeches. A slideshow of cranes at sunrise. Applause that is warm and thin at once. I clap, I smile, I collect business cards in a neat stack. Miguel Ortega, Port Security, Jin Park, Vendor Ops, Rena Feld, Legal Counsel. Each name is a possible light later, if it gets dark. Halfway through the evening, as I return from the restroom, I pause by a display case of antique navigation tools. In the glass, I catch a reflection. Clara standing behind me, alone, eyes on my badge. Miss Hart, she says, voice smooth. I turn. Miss Wynne, I hear you're on vendor controls. I am. Her smile is precise. Arcadia values strong compliance partners. Good, I say. Then tomorrow will be easy. Something flickers in her gaze. Not fear. Calculation. She tilts her head. Do we know each other? We will, I say and sip my seltzer. It's a small harbor. She studies me a beat longer then glides away. I exhale slowly. My hands are steady. The baby kicks once like a punctuation mark. On my way back to the table, I pass a corkboard of summit announcements. A new sheet has been pinned to the bottom. Morning agenda update. I read the fine print. Arcadia's session has been moved first, not third. And a footnote. Private signing immediately following due diligence, pending board approval. Signing, tomorrow. They want this to move. Fast. I snap a photo and send it to Nadia. Her reply pings, saw it. They're pushing. We'll push back, with questions. I text, good, I have a few. Back at the table, a hostess slides a small envelope beside my plate, my name on the front in block letters. I look up. She's already walking away. Inside, a single card. Check the donor ledger. Arcadia's isn't new. No signature. No explanation. My heart climbs into my throat. I glance around. The room is a mulled wine of conversations and clinking glass. No one is watching me. Everyone is watching everyone. I fold the card into my palm and make for the donor wall. The brass plates are organized by year. 2019, 2020, 2021. I trace backward until I find a 2018 plate. Harbor Light Endowment Gifts. My finger stops on a name that's not Arcadia but close enough to be a shadow, Arcadian Holdings. A different entity. Similar route. Same postal box as the one on the share transfer photo from the plane. The donor tier is high, not a token, and the contact etched beneath the gift line. C. Win. A thread pulls taut in my mind. Arcadian Holdings in 2018, Arcadia Ventures in 2023. New name, old footprints. It's not proof. It is pattern. Everything all right? Nadia asks, appearing at my elbow like a guardian angel with a spreadsheet. Found an ancestor, I murmur, tapping the plate. Her eyes flicker. Photograph and pocket the thought. We'll keep it out of the room until we're in the room. By the time the shuttle returns us to the hotel, my feet ache and my head is buzzing, but it's a useful buzz. Tara peels off to the bar. I head straight to the elevator. The doors slide open. Inside, Adrian and Sienna. Of course. 14? He asks, pressing the button for me like we are strangers. 10, I say. We ride in silence until the air seems to sparkle with it. At 8, Sienna checks her reflection. At 9, Adrian finally breaks. You shouldn't have taken those photos, he says softly, eyes on the numbers. I keep my face still. You shouldn't have needed an envelope. The doors open on 10. I step out. Good night, I add, because polite is a habit I'm not ready to unlearn. See you in the morning, he says, as if it's a promise. In my room, I lock the door, then the extra latch. I lay my business cards on the desk in a fan, my phone on the charger, my hand on my belly. The rain ticks the window like a metronome. Tomorrow's room will be glass and light and lies arranged in stacks. But tonight, the shapes are simple. A harbor, a club, a donor plate with an old name, and a woman who used to be afraid of every noise in the dark and is learning which ones to walk toward. I text Mom. Long day, but I'm okay, the baby's okay. She replies, proud of you, sleep. The truth will wait. I smile into the dim room. The truth rarely waits, but I am ready to follow it. I turn off the lamp. In the dark, the baby turns, and I promise again softly to both of us, what I promised on the plane. I will not look away. Morning comes sharp and cold, the kind of air that wakes you whether you're ready or not. The vast port conference center rises from the harbor like a glass fortress, its walls reflecting cranes, barges, the steady commerce of the bay. I stand in the lobby with my badge clipped to my blazer, trying to look like a professional, not like a woman who survived a storm last night. But the storm is already here. Adrian is across the atrium, laughing with a circle of board members as though he belongs among them. He gestures with ease, the silver of his watch flashing, his posture wide like he owns the air. Beside him, Sienna glows in a tailored dress, a badge at her throat that reads Consultant Arcadia Ventures. My stomach drops. Not guest, not spouse. Consultant. She's not a bystander to this deal. She's inside it. I swallow hard, one hand bracing my belly. I shouldn't be surprised. But the betrayal feels fresh, like he's using the woman who broke us to rewrite our past into his profit. Nadia murmurs at my side, did you know she'd be listed? No, I say, voice low, tight. I thought she was just... I stop myself. Just a wife, just a trophy. Just the reason my marriage burned down. Apparently not, Nadia finishes for me. Her jaw sets. We'll note it. Conflicts everywhere. The first session begins. Rows of polished wood desks face a stage with flags, microphones, screens. We sit second row. Arcadia sits across, front and center. Clara with her folio, Adrian leaning back like he owns the table, Sienna poised with a sleek tablet. I feel their eyes brush over me and away, deliberate, like I am a footnote in their story. The CFO of Vastport opens with numbers, projected growth, terminal expansion, shipping lanes. Then Arcadia is introduced. Clara rises, speaks of partnership and vision. Her words flow like oil, smooth, covering, hard to grip. She gestures once, and Adrian steps up. He talks about leveraging synergies, his voice firm, confident, the same cadence he once used to convince me to sign a mortgage I didn't want. I feel a chill at how easily he moves in this space, how the audience leans toward him, charmed. Then Sienna rises. My throat tightens. She speaks of streamlining vendor compliance, of bridging regulatory expectations with modern solutions. Words she never knew when she worked in luxury retail. But now she says them with poise, each phrase rehearsed, like she's been fed my old vocabulary. Because that's what it is, my language. She's presenting herself as the compliance consultant for Arcadia. She's parroting ideas I built, training I led, frameworks I once drew on whiteboards late at night while Adrian paced behind me. He stole not just my marriage, but my work, my words, my field. A heat rises in my chest that's not safe for a woman 6 months pregnant. I press my hand down, breathe, in for 4, hold, out for 6. But inside, my heart screams, they've built their empire on my ashes. I scribble notes to keep steady. Nadia leans over, whispering, you're right. Her phrasing, this isn't her expertise. Someone fed it to her. Adrian, I whisper back, and I tap my pen once, or Clara. The session moves to Q&A. A board member asks Arcadia about beneficial ownership. Clara smiles that precise smile. Arcadia is trustee held. Our structures comply fully with disclosure standards. Nadia raises a hand. Who are the settlors and beneficiaries of the trust? Clara tilts her head. Confidential, per jurisdiction. That won't satisfy OFAC, Nadia says smoothly. The room tightens. Adrian leans forward, voice calm but edged. Arcadia is prepared to meet all U.S. CRA obligations. Any suggestion otherwise is premature. His eyes cut to me, sharp, direct, and in that look, I hear the old warning. Stay quiet. Stay out. I grip my pen so hard my knuckles ache. I am not quiet anymore. At the break, I slip into the corridor, needing air. The bay wind sneaks in through the glass doors, briny and cold. When I turn, Sienna is there, blocking my path, heels clicking. She smiles sweetly. You look tired, Evelyn. Are you sure this kind of work is safe for you? In your condition? My chest tightens. I'll manage. You always do, she says, tilting her head. But be careful. Stress isn't good for the baby. It's a threat wrapped in concern, a performance. Then she leans closer, voice a whisper sharp as glass. If you think anyone here will believe you over Adrian and me, you're still living in the past. I freeze. Her perfume is different now, not light florals but something heavy, musky, commanding. She's rehearsed this role. She wants me to feel small, but the baby kicks, strong, insistent, and I remember the envelope, the photos, the donor wall, the truth I hold that she doesn't know I have. I meet her gaze. The past has teeth, I say quietly. Her smile falters for just a beat. Then she walks away, heels sharp against the marble. I breathe in, long, steady. The world tilts, but I keep my balance. In that moment, I understand the betrayal in full. Adrian hasn't just moved on. He has weaponized everything we once shared. Our company, my work, even the woman who ended us. And Sienna isn't a bystander, she's complicit. When I return to the conference room, Nadia slips me a note torn from her pad. Check Arcadian Holdings filings. Found overlap with Vastport vendor list. The walls are closing in, but so are the patterns. And I am not the woman who will look away. The second half of the summit is held in a glass-walled hall that overlooks the bay. The water glitters under weak sunlight, a silver backdrop that makes every word echo sharper than it should. I take my seat with Nadia, bracing myself. My pulse thrums at my throat. But I tell myself I'm steady. I've survived harder things than rooms like this. At least, I thought I had. The chair of Vastport rises, smiling for cameras. Before we move to our final block, he says, Arcadia Ventures has graciously prepared a demonstration to illustrate their compliance framework. We believe this will answer the last of our board's concerns. Polite applause. My stomach sinks. A demonstration? That wasn't on the agenda. Clara steps to the podium, calm, practiced. We value transparency, she says. So rather than just words, we want to show you exactly how Arcadia protects clients from exposure. She nods, and then Adrian stands. My breath catches. He carries a slim folder to the projector. My folder. My frameworks. I know before he even clicks the first slide. Years ago, he begins smoothly, I had the privilege of working alongside a brilliant compliance strategist. Together, we pioneered a due diligence model still ahead of its time. With her permission, his voice lands on the phrase like a knife. I've adapted that model to Arcadia's current platform. The screen glows. A chart appears. One I had drawn on a whiteboard in our office long ago, late-night pizza growing cold beside me. He's taken my work, my diagrams, my design, my flow of red flags and escalation paths, and rebranded it with Arcadia's logo. Gasps of approval ripple across the room. Notes are scribbled. Cameras flash. My body goes rigid. I can't breathe. It's not just theft, it's erasure. And then the final blow. Adrian clicks to the next slide. Of course, innovation requires stewardship. That's why Arcadia's compliance consultant, my wife, Sienna Cole, will walk you through our case study application. Applause swells. Sienna steps up, radiant, tablet in hand. She clicks smoothly through examples, speaking in phrases I recognize as my own, copied almost word for word from training modules I wrote years ago. I hear my voice stolen, my expertise stripped of my name, dressed on her tongue like a costume. The room nods, impressed. Heat floods my chest. My baby shifts, unsettled by my rising blood pressure. I press my hand over the curve of my stomach, forcing air in, air out. But it's too late. My face burns. Nadia leans in, furious whisper. They can't claim this as original. It's plagiarism. Do you have proof? Yes, I breathe. My voice shakes. Everything. Files, dates, even the draft versions. Then stay calm, she hisses. We'll handle it legally. But calm is impossible when Sienna smiles directly at me mid-presentation, her eyes sparkling with the cruel joy of someone who knows exactly what she's stolen. The humiliation is deliberate, public, calculated. When the applause erupts again, Adrian adds one final twist. And I want to thank Evelyn Hart, my ex-wife, who first inspired me to believe compliance could be creative. Without her early influence, Arcadia wouldn't be where it is today. The room turns. Dozens of faces swivel toward me, smiling politely, as if I've just been acknowledged, as if I should be proud. Instead, I feel stripped bare. They don't see the theft. They see a man graciously crediting an ex-wife, folding me into his narrative as a minor footnote. The applause stings like acid. I try to rise, but my chair scrapes loudly. Too loud. The sound silences part of the room. I can feel heat crawling up my throat, words spilling before I can stop them. This isn't yours, I hear myself say. My voice shakes, but the microphone catches it anyway. None of this is yours. The air stills. Nadia grips my arm. Evelyn. But Adrian only smiles, the benevolent conqueror. She's emotional, he says smoothly, looking out at the board, not at me. You understand. It's a sensitive time for her. His eyes flick to my belly. A few chuckles ripple through the audience. Laughter. Not cruel, not loud, but enough. My body trembles. My child kicks hard against my ribs. My throat closes. In this room, in this moment, I am painted as the hysterical pregnant ex-wife, lashing out while the professionals carry on. The humiliation is complete. I collapse back into my chair, gripping the armrest with white knuckles. My eyes sting, but I refuse to let tears fall in front of them. I bite down on silence, on fury, on the taste of shame. And then, as the applause resumes and the meeting flows forward as though nothing happened, Nadia leans close and whispers, "Don't break now, we'll burn them later, with proof." I close my eyes, steadying my breath. But inside, something hardens. The public humiliation isn't the end, it's the spark. When the session finally ends, people stand, chatter, and drift toward the catered lunch. I stay in my chair, frozen, until the hall empties. My hands shake too badly to pack my notebook. I clutch it to my chest instead, like a shield that isn't working. The humiliation replays in my head on a loop. Adrian's smooth voice, Sienna's confident smile, the laughter, the way the room looked at me. I've been erased before, but never so publicly. Never with an unborn child pressing against my ribs as witness. Nadia crouches beside me. Come on, breathe. We'll regroup upstairs. I nod, but when I try to stand, my knees buckle. She grips my arm, steadying me. Hotel, she says firmly. Now. The walk back is a blur. Conversations rise and fall around me, strangers laughing in the corridor, colleagues networking, phones buzzing. But in my ears, only one phrase plays over and over. She's emotional. Sensitive. You understand. I hate how easily they understood. By the time we reach the hotel, my back aches and my abdomen feels tight, too tight. I collapse onto the bed, one hand pressed to my stomach. The baby shifts restlessly. Panic claws at me. Not now. Not because of this. Nadia sits on the edge of the chair, jaw clenched. You need rest. Do I call your doctor? I shake my head. Just give me water. And please, close the curtains. The room darkens. I focus on breathing. In, out, count. Slowly, the ache eases. The baby stills, a quiet swirl instead of frantic kicks. Relief floods me. But then the tears come. I press my face into the pillow, muffling sobs that tear out of me like shrapnel. Years of swallowed humiliation surge up at once. Signing papers I didn't believe in. Listening to Adrian spin lies as if truth bent for him. Being called paranoid, oversensitive, ungrateful. And now, being painted as hysterical before a room of my peers. The shame is physical. My chest burns, my throat aches, my body feels heavy like gravity has doubled. When the sobs finally slow, I whisper into the dark, why can't I ever win against him? Silence answers, except no, not silence. A flutter beneath my ribs. My baby reminding me we are still here, still alive. But right now, alive feels like the bare minimum. I drift into a restless sleep. When I wake, the light is dim and Nadia is gone. A note on the nightstand. Bored dinner tonight. Skip it. Rest. I'll cover. I sit up slowly. My head pounds. My body feels wrung out. But worse is the shame that still clings. I imagine the board members tonight, sipping wine, shaking hands with Adrian and Sienna, telling each other what a polished team Arcadia is. And me? The unstable ex-wife. The pregnant liability. The woman who couldn't even sit through a presentation without falling apart. The thought eats me alive. I shuffle to the bathroom, splash cold water on my face. My reflection startles me. Red eyes, hair limp, skin sallow. This isn't who I used to be. But then again, who was I? A woman who stayed too long in a marriage that hollowed her out. A woman who believed keeping peace was worth more than keeping truth. Maybe this is who I've always been. Maybe Adrian only showed the world what I refused to see. The thought guts me. I sink to the floor, curling my arms around my knees, forgetting for a moment the swell of my belly until the baby shifts in protest. I place a hand there, whispering, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. For the first time since this child was conceived, doubt pierces me. Will I be strong enough to be a mother? To protect them? Or will I always break when the room turns against me? The doubt lingers long into the evening, until hunger finally forces me to order soup from room service. I eat mechanically, not tasting. Later, I scroll through my phone. News already trickles out on LinkedIn. Photos from the summit, smiling faces, hashtags. One post shows Adrian on stage, gesturing at the screen, with my framework glowing behind him. The caption reads, Arcadia Ventures demonstrates cutting-edge compliance models, inspiring session. I nearly drop the phone. Cutting edge, inspiring. Words that should have been mine. I hurl the phone onto the bed and clutch my stomach, rocking. Rage surges, but it fizzles quickly into despair. What's the point? Even if I fight, he wins the narrative. He always does. For hours, I lie in the dark, staring at the ceiling, crushed under the weight of humiliation. I tell myself I will fight tomorrow, but tonight, I am broken. The night stretches long, sleepless. I toss between sheets that smell like detergent and despair, every muscle tense, until finally I give up and reach for my phone. The photos of Adrian on stage glare at me from the screen. My framework behind him, the world applauding, my humiliation permanent, digitized. I almost swipe away, but something catches my eye. In one of the photos, just at the edge of the frame, a reflection glints in the glass wall of the conference hall. A man with a camera. Not press, not staff, a stranger, and he's not facing the stage, he's facing me. My chest tightens. Why would anyone photograph me? I zoom in, grainy pixels sharpening into the outline of a slim man in a dark suit, camera raised, aimed right at my table. The timestamp matches the moment I stood and accused Adrian. Someone was documenting me, not the presentation. A shiver crawls over my skin. I scroll further through the comments. One name appears under multiple posts. E. Monroe, Harborlight Council. The comments are clipped, technical. Trustee filings inconsistent. Vendor disclosure gap. Not praise. Not flattery. Observations. Who is E. Monroe? And why are they flagging Arcadia in public? I search. LinkedIn profile. Elias Monroe, corporate attorney, Harborlight Club pro bono legal chair. His posts are quiet, analytical, buried under the noise of summit hashtags. But they all point to the same thing. Someone else has doubts about Arcadia. Hope flickers, small, fragile, but real. I draft a message, then hesitate. What if he's aligned with them? What if reaching out exposes me? But then I think of the envelope, the donor wall. The card slipped under my plate. Check the ledger. Someone in this circle wants me to know the truth. Could it be him? I bite my lip, then type, Mr. Monroe, this is Evelyn Hart from the Vastport Summit. I noticed your comments on Arcadia. Would you be open to a discreet conversation? I hit send before fear can stop me. Morning comes gray and wet again. My eyes ache from lack of sleep. I sit with oatmeal I can't taste when my phone buzzes. Reply, Miss Hart, I was hoping you'd reach out. Meet me before session. Harbor Light Cafe, 8:15. Don't bring Arcadia with you. My pulse leaps. At 8:15 I walk into the cafe tucked inside the lobby. It smells of burnt espresso and rain-soaked wool. He's waiting in a corner booth, younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, sharp eyes behind wireframes. Miss Hart, he says, standing to shake my hand. Elias Monroe. I sit, clutching my tea. Why were you taking photos yesterday? His gaze is steady. Because you were the only one in that room telling the truth, and truth needs a witness. Heat floods my cheeks. You don't know me. I know Arcadia, he says flatly. They've been laundering through the Harbor Light Club for years. Different shells, same fingerprints. Wynn is the front, Cole is the salesman, and your name, Hart, came up in old filings. That made me pay attention. My stomach knots. Filings? He pulls out a folder. Inside? Donor ledgers, tax documents, scanned records from 2018. There it is again, Arcadian Holdings. Same P.O. box, signed by Clara Wynn. But on the second page, my breath stops. A corporate resolution, 2017. Cole and Hart Logistics, transferring consulting assets to Arcadian Holdings. My name on the page, my forged signature. My hands shake as I trace the ink. That's not mine. I never signed this. Elias nods grimly. Exactly, it's forgery, and it gave Arcadian Holdings rights to the frameworks Cole stole from you. The same ones they displayed yesterday. The room tilts. My chest tightens. All this time, I thought Adrian just plagiarized, but he went further. He forged me out of my own work. Elias leans closer. If this comes to light, Arcadia collapses. Forgery, wire fraud, fraudulent conveyance, it's all here. But it has to come from someone with standing, someone like you. My baby kicks, strong, insistent. My whole body hums with adrenaline. I whisper, if I expose this, he'll destroy me. Or, Elias says softly, you'll finally destroy him. I grip the papers. My breath steadies. For the first time since this nightmare began, I feel power, not borrowed, not stolen, rising in my hands. This isn't just about humiliation anymore. It's about justice. I return to my hotel room with Elias's folder pressed tight against my chest. The carpeted hallway feels longer than a runway, every step echoing with one truth. I have proof. For hours I sit at the desk, scanning every page into my laptop, cross-checking with the photos I took on the plane. The puzzle fits together too neatly to be chance. 2017 corporate resolution, my forged signature, transferring consulting assets. 2018 donor records, Arcadian Holdings quietly buying influence at the Harbor Light Club. 2023 Summit, Arcadia Ventures, shiny rebrand, parading my stolen framework as innovation. My anger doesn't feel wild anymore. It feels surgical, focused. Adrian wanted the world to see me as emotional, fragile, breakable. But what I have now isn't emotion, it's evidence. I close my laptop and walk to the mirror. The woman staring back at me looks older than she did 2 days ago. Bruised eyes, pale skin, shoulders slumped. This is the version Adrian counted on, the version he thought he could erase. But I refuse to walk into tomorrow looking like his story. I open my suitcase. At the bottom, under the stack of maternity dresses and flats, is the one thing I packed but never thought I'd wear. A midnight blue wrap dress, sleek but forgiving around my belly. Next, heels, not the stilettos of my old corporate life, but low, sharp, enough to click with authority, and the finishing touch. A single strand of pearls, my mother's. She gave them to me when I passed the bar exam, saying, for when you need to remember you belong in every room you walk into. I shower, letting hot water strip away the exhaustion, the shame, the tears. When I dress, when I fasten the pearls, when I smooth my hair into a clean bun, something shifts inside me. For the first time in years, I look like myself. Not Adrian's wife, not the broken ex, not the emotional pregnant woman. I look like Evelyn Hart, compliant strategist, mother-to-be, survivor, and the baby kicks, as if in agreement. That evening, I meet Nadia in the lobby before the board's private dinner. She does a double take. Well, damn, she says softly. You look ready. I am. We ride together to the restaurant. an old brick building overlooking the harbor. Inside, chandeliers cast golden light over round tables set with silver and crystal. The board sits clustered, glasses raised. Arcadia's delegation is already there. Clara calm, Sienna radiant, Adrian in his best navy suit. When I enter, conversation falters just for a moment. Heads turn, not at the bump, at me. I hold their gaze one by one until they turn back to their wine. I sit beside Nadia, spine straight. I don't shrink. Adrian catches my eye across the table, surprise flickering for just a second, before he masks it with his practiced smirk. He expected me broken, curled up in bed. Not here. Not like this. Clara raises her glass for a toast, smooth as silk. To partnerships built on trust. I almost laugh. Almost, but I don't speak, not yet. Not until I have the stage. Instead, I unfold my napkin slowly, deliberately, and whisper to Nadia, tomorrow they fall. She squeezes my hand under the table. Good. Let's make sure they fall hard. Back in my room, I line up the evidence on the desk like weapons. Elias's folder, my photos from the plane, the donor wall picture, the forged resolution with my false signature. I create a timeline, precise, irrefutable. Every arrow points to Arcadia, every path leads to Adrian. And when I finish, I feel something I haven't felt in years. Control. I rest a hand on my stomach, speaking aloud into the quiet. You won't inherit my silence, you'll inherit my fight. The baby shifts, gentle, like a promise. Tomorrow will be war, and I'm ready to walk into the battlefield as myself. The final morning of the summit dawns gray, the harbor mist rolling in like a curtain before a play. Inside the conference hall, the atmosphere is electric. Today isn't just about presentations, it's about signatures, contracts, commitments. Arcadia sits front and center, radiant with quiet confidence. Clara smooths her folio. Sienna taps at her tablet, lips curved. Adrian leans back, hands folded, the picture of a man who thinks the world already belongs to him. I take my seat beside Nadia, heart pounding, but this time it's not fear, it's anticipation. In my bag, the folder waits. My weapon, my truth. The vast port chair stands. Ladies and gentlemen, today we finalize a partnership that will shape the future of this port. Arcadia Ventures has proven itself a strong, transparent partner. After a short due diligence review, we'll proceed to signing. Applause swells. Clara rises first. Arcadia thanks the board for its confidence. We are committed to integrity, compliance, and growth. Her words glide like glass. Then Adrian takes the mic. I've always believed trust is the strongest currency. Today, Arcadia offers not just capital, but vision. And I want to acknowledge my wife Sienna, whose brilliance ensures our compliant structure is second to none. The room claps again. My fists curl. They are seconds away from cementing their fraud. The chair turns toward Nadia. Do we have any final questions before we sign? This is the moment. Nadia glances at me. A silent question. I nod. She clears her throat. Yes, we do. The room hushes. I stand. My legs tremble, but my voice does not. With respect, I believe Arcadia has withheld critical disclosures, and I have evidence. Gasps ripple across the hall. Adrian stiffens. Sienna's smile falters. Clara's eyes narrow, sharp as knives. I step forward, placing the folder on the table. This resolution, dated 2017, transfers consulting assets from Cole & Hart Logistics to Arcadian Holdings. But the signature here, I lift the page, is mine. And it's forged. Murmurs swell. The board chair frowns. Forged? Yes, I say firmly. I never signed this. Yet this document gave Arcadia the right to present my compliance framework as theirs. Every chart, every model you saw yesterday originated with me, years before Arcadia existed. They laundered my work through a fake entity, Arcadian Holdings, run by the same trustee, Clara Wynne. Clara rises, voice cold. This is absurd. Anyone can claim forgery. I hold up my phone, except I have time-stamped drafts, emails, metadata all proving authorship. And here, I display the donor wall photo. Arcadian Holdings made large gifts to this very club in 2018. Same P.O. box, same trustee, different name, a shell game designed to wash dirty money into legitimacy. Elias Monroe, seated in the back, stands now. As Harborlight legal counsel, I can corroborate. These filings exist, and the inconsistencies Ms. Hart points out are real. The room erupts, whispers, gasps, board members leaning into each other. Adrian surges to his feet, face flushed. This is a personal vendetta. She's my ex-wife, she's unstable. Look at her, 6 months pregnant and hysterical. I meet his glare head-on, my voice cuts clear. I may be pregnant, I may be your ex-wife, but I am not hysterical. I am a compliance officer doing her job, and the truth doesn't bend because it's inconvenient to you. The board chair bangs the gavel. Enough. These allegations are serious. We cannot sign until they are investigated. Adrian sputters. Sienna tries to speak, but the board drowns them out with demands for documents, audits, verification. Clara remains still, her mask cracking at the edges. I step back, my knees weak, my heart racing. But for the first time in years, the room is with me. Nadia whispers, fierce with pride, "You did it." Adrian glares at me, eyes burning with a promise of revenge. But his voice, his power, his performance, none of it matters now. The tide has turned, and in my belly the baby kicks hard, triumphant, as if to say, we are winning. The hours after the summit unfold like a storm. By the time I leave the hall, the news is already moving. Reporters hover outside the glass doors, cameras raised. The board has issued a statement. All agreements with Arcadia are suspended pending investigation. Inside the lobby, I catch sight of Adrian pacing, phone pressed hard to his ear, his tie askew. Sienna trails him, hissing under her breath, face blotched with panic. Clara, always composed, is nowhere to be seen. For the first time, they don't look untouchable. They look cornered. Nadia pulls me toward the side exit. Don't talk to press yet. Let them chase Arcadia. We'll feed the story to regulators first. We spend the afternoon in a quiet conference room with Elias. He drafts affidavits. I hand over my evidence. Photos, drafts, metadata, everything. Each page feels like a brick laid in the foundation of their collapse. By evening, the walls begin to close on them. Emails surface, leaked by someone inside Arcadia. Wires split into irregular amounts, offshore accounts, transactions routed through Sunbay brokerage in the Caymans. Exactly what I saw in that envelope on the plane. The scandal snowballs. By nightfall, financial news outlets pick it up. Arcadia Ventures under scrutiny for fraudulent filings, forgery allegations. My name is there too, not as a victim, not as a hysterical ex-wife, but as a whistleblower. The next morning, the fallout is visible. Sienna doesn't appear at breakfast. Someone whispers she flew out overnight. Clara arrives late, stone-faced, flanked by lawyers. She makes no eye contact. The board chair refuses her handshake. And Adrian is pale, sweaty, trying to laugh too loudly with anyone who will listen. But no one is listening anymore. Mid-morning, federal investigators arrive at the conference center. Suits, badges, questions. They escort Adrian and Clara out of the hall. Cameras flash. For once, he can't smooth it over with charm. For once, his voice doesn't bend the room. Sienna's name surfaces in filings tied as a consultant on fraudulent contracts. Her signature appears on verification letters legitimizing Arcadia's compliance model. She is complicit. By afternoon, the three of them, Adrian, Clara, Sienna, are the story. And the story is not flattering. I stand by the window of my hotel room, hand pressed to my belly, watching the harbor blur in the drizzle. Nadia enters quietly, holding her phone. It's official, she says. The SEC and DOJ are opening joint investigations. Vassport's counsel confirmed they're cutting all ties with Arcadia. Her voice softens. Evelyn, you did it. I sink into the chair, shaking with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. No, we did it. Elias, you, the board, finally listening. You just told the truth, she interrupts gently. And sometimes that's the bravest thing. I exhale, tears stinging my eyes. Not the hot tears of humiliation, but something cleaner. On the TV across the room, a reporter speaks. Breaking news, Arcadia Ventures faces allegations of forgery and fraudulent transfers. Key executives, including Adrian Cole and consultant Sienna Cole, are under investigation. Trustee Clara Wynne has retained criminal defense counsel. Meanwhile, whistleblower Evelyn Hart is being hailed as a compliance hero for exposing the scheme before Vassport signed a multi-million-dollar deal. The camera flashes an image, me at the summit, standing tall with papers in hand, eyes steady. I don't look broken in that frame. I look like a woman who finally claimed her voice. That night, my phone buzzes with messages, former colleagues congratulating me, old friends apologizing for not believing me back then, even strangers writing, "Thank you for standing up." One message makes me pause. It's from Adrian, just 2 words, "You'll pay." I stare at the screen for a long moment, then delete it. For the first time, his threats feel small. His empire is gone. And mine, the life I'm building with this child, is just beginning. I close the curtains, lay my hand on my stomach, and whisper, "It's over. We're free." The baby kicks softly like a sigh of relief. 2 months later, the snow begins to fall in Chicago. I sit by the window of my apartment, watching flakes swirl past the glass, one hand curled around a mug of chamomile tea, the other resting on the swell of my belly. 8 months now. The baby moves like a tide, steady and strong. And for the first time in years, I feel steady too. Arcadia is gone. The DOJ charged Clara Wynn with wire fraud and conspiracy. Sienna faces counts of falsifying compliance certifications. Adrian, my ex-husband, once so sure the world bent to his will, is indicted on forgery and money laundering. Their empire collapsed overnight. The headlines call it a spectacular unraveling. I don't rejoice in their downfall, not exactly. What I feel is something quieter, deeper. Justice, balance restored. My life looks different now. Vassport's board sent a letter thanking me for protecting them from a catastrophic mistake. Nadia nominated me for a national award in ethics and compliance. But what matters most is simpler. I walk into rooms now without lowering my eyes. I speak without shrinking my voice. A week ago, I gave a lecture at Northwestern about whistleblowing and resilience. When the students applauded, I didn't flush with shame. I smiled. Because I belonged there. And then there are the smaller victories. Every evening, I FaceTime with Mom. She insists on seeing the nursery. Yellow walls, a crib I built with my own hands, a stack of children's books waiting on the shelf. She always says the same thing before we hang up. This baby will inherit your courage, Evelyn, not your silence. And I believe her. Sometimes I still dream about Adrian. Not the trial, not the fraud, the early years, tacos on the floor, laughter before it turned sharp. I wake with a strange sadness. But then I place my hand on my stomach and remember, I am no longer tethered to him. My story no longer ends where his begins. One evening, as I leave my office, Elias Monroe waits in the lobby. He smiles, awkward, kind. I thought maybe you'd want to celebrate the indictments, he says, holding up 2 coffees. I laugh, surprised by the warmth rising in me. We walk together into the snowy night. For once, I don't think about the past, or the case, or the whispers of betrayal. I think about possibility. About how healing can look like conversation, like company, like hope. When I finally go into labor weeks later, it is long and hard. But when the cry fills the room, fierce and alive, every pain vanishes. The nurse places the baby on my chest, a girl, red-faced, furious at the world already. I hold her tiny hand against my heart and whisper, "We made it. We're free." Tears blur my vision, but these tears are clean, born not of humiliation but of joy. Months from now, Adrian and Clara and Sienna will still be facing trials, headlines, shame. But me, I'll be here, rocking my daughter to sleep, building a life with no secrets, no forged signatures, no stolen frameworks. A life where truth is not something I swallow, it's something I live. I kiss my daughter's forehead and whisper the promise one last time, the promise that carried me through storms, humiliation, and fire. I will not look away. And I never will again. Spring arrives in Chicago like a long-awaited guest, shy at first, then suddenly everywhere. The snow melts into soft earth, tulips push through the soil, and the park near my apartment fills with children's laughter. I walk slowly along the path, a stroller before me, the wheels crunching over gravel. Inside, my daughter sleeps, her tiny fists curled, her chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. Every so often she stirs, her lips pursing as if she's already dreaming of words. The sunlight filters through the budding trees, landing warm on my shoulders. I breathe it in, let it fill the spaces that grief once hollowed out. It has been weeks since the trials began. I don't follow every headline now. Justice is moving, steady and inevitable, like the tide. I don't need to watch each wave crash. I already know how the storm ends. What matters is this: I am free. Free from Adrian's shadow, free from silence, free to begin again. Sometimes, when I rock her at night, I think of the Evelyn I used to be, the woman who bent herself small to fit inside someone else's story. She feels like a stranger now. I want to tell her, you survived. You told the truth, and one day, you'll hold a life in your arms and know it was all worth it. Mind if I join you? A voice asks. I look up. Elias stands there, hands in his coat pockets, a paper cup of coffee in each. He smiles, warm, tentative. I nod, smiling back. Only if one of those is for me. He hands it over and we fall into step together. We don't talk about Arcadia. We don't talk about Adrian. We talk about the weather, about books, about how quickly a baby grows. Simple things, healing things. At the bench near the fountain, I pause, sitting to watch the water sparkle. Elias bends over the stroller, studying her tiny face. She looks peaceful, he murmurs. She is, I say softly. She doesn't know what storms we walked through to get here. He glances at me, eyes gentle. Maybe that's the point. You walked so she doesn't have to. The words sink deep. My throat tightens, but not with pain, with gratitude. Later, when he leaves, I linger in the park. The sun dips low, painting the sky in hues of gold and rose. My daughter stirs, opening her eyes just a little. I lean close, whispering, "This world is messy, but it's yours now, and I'll be right here, always, telling the truth, holding the light." She blinks, then drifts back to sleep. I smile, a quiet, certain smile. Because the worst is behind us. Because the future, hers, mine, is wide open. Because healing isn't a sudden sunrise. It's this, a soft spring afternoon. A stroller, a promise kept. And as the fountain splashes and the tulips sway, I know I've kept it.